Hello, Kim here. I'm going to be taking you through a core series for the next half hour. We don't need any props today. I don't have any props out here where I'm at, just yourself, a mat or carpeted floor or comfortable space to lie down and move around. We've still got a couple minutes before we get started, so if you need to grab anything, I always like to make sure you've got your cup of water. If you do know that you like to use some props, you're welcome to bring those in, or if you want to have some nearby, just in case we do something that you like to have those with. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this core class, since it's my first time teaching it in this live Facebook space. I am a yoga teacher by training, so this class is mindful. We're going to be working the core in a way that is strategic and has a broader goal than just blasting your abs. So we're looking at stability. We're talking about deep stabilizing muscles, some mobility work in there as well. And yeah, overall should be a lot of fun. Hopefully it's a challenge in a good way. If it's ever not, take a break anytime, take a few deep breaths. That is perfect. And it looks like it's time for us to get started. So go ahead and start lying down on your back. I like to really start a little bit slowly to warm up the spine and also just get a sense of what it means to engage the core in this really specific way where we're starting out. So you can lie down on your back, roll your shoulder blades under, take your arms out to cactus or T. And just take a moment to notice what's happening with your spine. So your spine has natural curves, and right here, I want you to find those natural curves. That means pressing the back of your ribcage into the ground, and then pressing your sacrum into the ground. So that bony plate at the back of the pelvis, press it down. What I'm looking for here is just to find a little tiny bit of lift in the low back. And you'll notice I'm not arching because I don't want to go out of that neutral position. I'm just also not curling the tailbone under. That can be a really nice place to work the core. It's just not what we're doing right now. So finding neutral spine, ribs in, low back long, and then pick your feet up off the mat. So toes are lifting, knees come together, and for me the first thing that happens when I lift my feet up is my middle spine lifts off and my low back rounds. So I'm going to try to adjust again here. Middle spine down, low spine long, arms out to a T or cactus, maybe palms down for this one. Squeeze your knees together, inhale. Exhale, knees hover over to the left. We're just gonna hover and hold, and you'll notice I'm not going very deep here because I want you to be interested in holding yourself here with the core, not just slumping over as deep as you can go and then using momentum to get back. So while we hold this first one, you might want to think about what's happening with your right hip. Is it sinking down, or can you lift it up a little bit? And you'll notice knees are still parallel to one another. Take one more breath here, hug the ribs in. And then coming back through center, notice that neutral spine, and knees will hover to the right. And again, we're gonna hold. So I've got my ribs hugging in. I'm not going too deep, and if you want to test yourself if it's too deep, try lifting your hands up. If you lift your hands up and you just kind of fall to the side, back out, try again. Notice that left hip this time is not dipping and sagging, you're lifting it actively away from the ground. Take a deep breath, and then back to center. Exhale to the left. Center. Exhale to the right. So just going side to side here in this windshield wiper motion. I like to make it one smooth, slow movement. You're welcome to break it up differently if you like. And here shouldn't be too crazy difficult yet. Just noticing what it feels like to move the spine, what it feels like to engage the core as we move in and out of neutral. Continuing to hug the ribs in to support middle back. Inner thighs gently squeezing. That sounded so threatening. That's not going to be too hard yet. Hopefully it's not too hard ever. Just that perfect level where you're benefiting yourself, but you're not like miserable. All right, we're gonna end with one more on each side. So at this point, you might be starting to feel a little deeper, or you might be starting to challenge yourself by lifting the hands up, or even lifting the arms up. Keeping the shoulder down. Ooh, that was hard. And once you come back to center, give the knees a nice hug. We're not quite done yet here on our backs with this twisting motion. So hands interlaced behind the back of the head, feet up towards the sky, and legs don't have to be straight. Knees can absolutely be bent here. Put some energy into the feet though, and then come back to that neutral spine, ribs in, just the tiniest lift in the low back. So you're not actually relying on spinal joints, but instead you're relying on muscles to hold you here. On an exhale, left leg will just lower to hover above the ground. And if that's a little too much, you can just bring your heel right down. Inner thighs are still squeezing here. Inhale. Exhale, left elbow, right knee across the body. We're going to do that same side. So inhale back to center. Exhale, left elbow, right knee. Let's do that a few more times. And I'm talking about bringing your elbow to your knee. But if you want to think about this more accurately, imagine bringing your left lower rib towards your right hip. So we're really working deep in there. Last one. Back to center. And then switch the legs. So left leg up, right leg hovers. Ribs in, inner thighs squeeze, so staying strong through the lower body. And exhale, right elbow across the body to the knee. Coming back to center. And then again across the body. A few more here. You can use your breath. Maybe letting out a big exhale as you lift. Inner thighs stay squeezing here just to avoid the legs kind of splaying apart. That's where your core starts, in the inner thighs. So keep it strong, keep it stable. Let's do one more here. Back down to center, and then switch your legs. And switch. And switch. Let's do that a couple more times, nice and slow, and keeping your spine neutral. So I'm not making this movement with momentum. I'm making it from these core muscles. Switch. Let's do one more switch. And then knees can hug in. Maybe feet even come to the ground, or you take a big stretch. For our next movement, you'll want to come up all the way into a tabletop position. So you can rock and roll up, or you can just kind of push yourself to seated, and then to hands and knees. Fingertips spread comfortably wide. We're going to be holding this bird dog posture for a little bit of time. So right hand up, left foot back. And again here, neutral spine. I'm not slouching, I'm not sagging, and I'm not rounding. Neutral, that means I'm engaged everywhere, back body and front body. Now, if you're finding this easy, you can take your knee in your hand into a bit of a narrower stance, like you're balancing on a balance beam. Yeah, and that's for me where I can feel that. It's a little bit tricky. You might not look up at the screen as often because it's a little bit harder here. But again, just make sure you're hugging the ribs away from the ground, drawing pubic bone to navel, and kicking up that foot with muscles in the back of the leg, not by slouching into the low back. So I don't care how high your leg is. Instead, how do you get it to the level that it's at? That's what matters. Let's do just a couple more moments here. Almost lost it. And then lower down. If it feels good, you can take a little shake or a cat-cow in between. And then other side, left foot, or left hand, right foot lifting up. So I'm neutral in here, and I'm lengthening from that neutral space. Another thing to keep in mind here is hips stay flat, so not opening up or kind of sagging into this rooted leg. If you need that challenge for your balance, bring your hand a little bit narrower, and then all of a sudden, hugging in through the midsection really pays off. Length through the back of your neck, length through the hand and foot. Foot can be pointed, flexed, or somewhere in between. Just make sure it's active. Relax your left shoulder, left traps. Reach that arm long. Don't forget to breathe. Almost there. Let's take a couple more breaths. And then lower arm and leg. Might give it a little bit of a shake. And then coming to forearm plank. Now, as a reminder, any plank pose you can do in a few different ways. A great way to modify if plank is just feeling like hard and unproductive is to come down to your knees. I'm not in a tabletop here, I'm just in a shorter plank. This is the perfect place to be. Otherwise, you can roll over the toes and just come up here. And we're going to be finding a little bit of movement. Elbows are under shoulders. Heart is forward, ribs draw in. Tip forward on your toes, sending your shoulders in front of your elbows. Then press back to neutral. Then keep pressing back, and my hips are lifting a little bit here just to accommodate this press back. If you do yoga and you know dolphin pose, we're not really quite going there here. Just pressing back, and then neutral. Forward, center, back, center. Hug the elbows in. Forward, center, back, center. Keep it up. If you have to readjust here, that's totally fine. I always find that my feet kind of do weird things, or my elbows want to slide apart. Take the time to readjust and do this right. Notice what's happening in your core. If it starts to become a little too much, do this from your knees, right? You can still absolutely do this. This is better than doing these lifted with poor form, crunching into the low back. We really want to make sure to do this in a way where you're getting something out of it. Down a little bit longer. Keep the ribs knitting in, even on that back. Keep the heart forward, lengthen your back of the neck. Let's do one more time. Forward, center, back, center. Let's hold for 10 seconds. Ribs in, heart forward, head forward. Last 3, 2, 1, and knees down. Stretch it out. You can lie down on your belly here or take kind of a puppy pose or child's pose like I'm doing. A couple deep breaths. Well done. And then we'll move to our next plank pose. Again on the forearm side plank. So I'm going to start with my right hand down, feet stacked. You can always stagger the feet. You can place one foot on the ground or bend your knees to come down here. That's totally fine. Hips are lifting high. Left hand lifts high. We're just going to hold for a few breaths, and we're going to add in a little bit of movement. Keep the inner thighs strong and squeezing together. And then on your next exhale, reach your hand under and behind you, and then up to the sky. Under and behind, up to the sky. Let's keep it going, under and behind, up to the sky. I'm doing this nice and slow. If you want to take it a little faster, that's absolutely fine. As long as you're not flinging yourself around, the pace is up to you. Let's do 2 more. And last one, reaching up, and then lower down. And we're just going to switch sides. You can just roll to the other side. I'm going to do this big dramatic movement so I can stay facing the camera. This bottom arm is rotated at whatever angle feels appropriate and safe in the shoulder. Feet stack, hips lift, Knees maybe on the ground, maybe lifted up. Hand to the sky, and just taking a moment to get settled here. So shoulders are stacking on top of one another, hips are stacked. It's really easy to kind of lean the hips back here. So try to keep them stacked. Inner thighs squeeze, and then when you're ready, reach it under and reach it up. Reaching under, maybe touching your left rib cage, and then up. We'll do a few more, don't forget to breathe. Strong through that shoulder, press through your forearm. Got a few more. Last one. And then lower down. Oh, it's a lot for the shoulders. That forearm plank and then side forearm plank one right after the other. But that's what it's all about. Really going there and challenging ourselves. This next move is my favorite type of crunch. I hate crunches. They don't feel good on my back, so I really like this one. It's a little bit different. Walk your feet together. Check in that your spine is neutral-ish here. So ribs in, low back slight lift. It might not even come off the ground, just so you're not like fully pressing. On an exhale, lift the head and shoulders. Hands are released behind the back of the head. Then hovering toes. Lengthen legs. Toes to the ground. Head and shoulders lower. So I'm going to lift upper body, toes, legs lengthen, toes down, head. Head and shoulders, toes, legs, toes, head. And as you keep going here, you might notice that this is like a little bit easy and you want a little more. You can always hold your feet a little further away from you. Try to get shoulder blades all the way off the ground. Elbows stay nice and wide. That's like the thing I'm the worst at. It's so hard. I just want to bring them up together and like hoist my head up. But we're using the abs for that. So as you make this movement, feel your ribs funnel in to lift you up. Keep that, and then release slightly to lower you down. Strong through belly. Let's do a few more. For these last few, if you want, you can just hold your upper body up, lengthen, and lower the legs. So totally up to you. And you'll notice my toes are now touching a little closer to the glutes. Makes it a little bit easier. This is up to you how you want to do this for 3, 2, 1, and lower. Take a deep breath. It might feel good to windshield wiper knees side to side. And then go ahead and roll over on to your belly. This is one of my favorite movements. I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to demonstrate, and I'm going to talk you through it. So for this movement, you'll want forehead on the ground. And then I always think about this as like an upside down snow angel, or like a weird lying on your stomach jumping jack. So forehead will come down. My arms are going to stay off the floor. If you're a little bit limited in space like I am, just try your best to work around that. Bend your elbow if you have to. Otherwise, try to keep the arms out long. So I'm going to bring my forehead down. Hands lift. And I'm just going to go all the way back. Pinkies touch my thighs. And then all the way forward with the hands hovering. Thumbs touch each other. So when you're ready, all the way back, little fingers touch the thighs. All the way forward until thumbs touch each other. Lengthen the arms as much as possible. And even here, you'll find a little bit of engagement in the core. You can imagine drawing your belly button up off your mat. Slow movement here through the arms. Really working that entire range of motion with the shoulder in this dimension. Try to keep shoulder heads far apart so you're not like shrugging them up by your ears. This is our last one. So once your hands get out in front of you, you You can relax them down, or maybe relax your hands by your sides or under your head. Roll the head side to side a little bit if that feels good. And then this next thing, I'm going to demonstrate it again. It's hard to like do it and know what you're doing when your head is on the ground. So I'll demonstrate the first one and then we'll do it together. So I'm going to bring my head to the ground, push my little notebook out of the way. I'm going to lift my hands while the head is still down, and my hands are close together, shoulder width distance, not wider. I'm going to press my feet down and then peel my head and chest up off the ground and then lower everything down. So when you're ready, hands come up, head is down, then head lifts, and then lower down. These are our Superman Cobras. Head down, arms lift, head and chest lift, and lower everything. Arms lift. If it feels good, you can turn your palms towards each other. Head and chest, and then lower down. If this is easy, try it with like a 5-pound weight in your hands. Head lifts, or just kidding, hands lift. Then head lifts, and we're gonna hold. Now take your hands behind you. Now take your hands up overhead. Feet are down, hands behind you. Chest lifts, hands up overhead. You're gonna do that one more time, arms by your sides. And then hands reach up, lift higher, and lower it down. It might feel good to bend your knees and windshield wiper your legs side to side. And then from here, we're gonna come all the way up to stand. So big transition, take your time with it. So I like to get the heart rate going a little bit before we move into some balancing work. 10 burpees, it's up to you how you do these. You can start right now, and you can do something like this, stepping back, stepping forward, standing up. You could also jump back, do a push-up, jump forward, jump to the sky, or anything in between. So 10 of these. Do it in a way that is challenging, but where you can still do something after, because that's the whole plan. Not quite done yet. If you've lost track, do 3 more. Last one. And then coming back to your neutral standing position. And remember, neutral means I'm strong. Strong throughout. It doesn't mean I'm doing nothing. Hands on the hips. Weight shifts over to your right foot, so left toes just hover. Heart is lifted, ribs are in, and start to tip forward, moving only at your right hip crease. And then coming back up. We're gonna do that again. Hands are on the hips so that your hips stay level. So I'm not opening one hip higher or dropping it lower than the other. If you feel confident that your hips are stable, they're gonna stay there. You can reach your hands powerfully down. And when I say powerfully, I mean there's energy in your hands and arms. But you're not sagging. You're not reaching down so much that it messes with the alignment in your shoulders. We're gonna do this a few more times. Now, I don't care how far down you go. I don't care how deeply you bend. This is about maintaining stability. So lots of work in the core, lots of work in the back, and then most notably for me, in the outer right hip. So that's where I feel this. Let's do 3 more. Such a challenge to do these right after something like burpees. I think there's a lot of benefit in that challenge. So if you were huffing and puffing like me, know that something good came out of it. Let's do 1 more here. Now notice, remember, I'm reaching and powerful through my arms. And I'm not rounding my back. With that one, you can come back to neutral, give it a little bit of a shake. And then other side, let's start with hands on the hips again here. Hovering the right leg, not by tipping, just like lift it slightly off the ground. Now, right hip's not gonna change. All I'm gonna do is bend my hip forward and then back up. I'm doing these nice and slow because speeding through them, there's a lot of room to miss what's going on. So again, really common here to open the hip up. Really common to kind of sag through the chest or round through the shoulders. You can release the hips whenever you feel stable doing that. And there's no such thing as bad movement. It's not like those are movements that it's never okay to take or you never want to take. It's just not what we're doing right here. This is not what we're working on in this moment. Challenging the balance, challenging what's going on that left side, left hip especially. We've got 2 more. Notice your side bodies are both lengthening, so you're not leaning too heavily into that left side. On this last one, make sure it's really strong and stable just as much as the first, maybe even more, because you've built a little bit of muscle memory here. And then right foot to the ground. You can give it a little bit of a shake. And let's come all the way back down to the ground. We're going to do one more thing. One more thing. And then we're going to take a little bit of a stretch. This last thing, I call this like a side boat pose. So side boat lifts, if you do yoga, you know what boat pose is. You're going to have left hand on the ground, and I'm leaning a little bit to my side. Not fully, but kind of right in between on that left hip. When I come into this, I'm going to press up so my elbow comes off the ground. At the same time, I'm going to lift my legs and reach for my toes. So I'm going to lower, lift, lower, lift. We're going to do 8 more here. And you can really use this left arm, not a lot or a lot. So feel it out. I should never say an exact number because I've already lost track. I think we've got 3 more. 2. Last one. If I didn't count right, feel free to add a couple more. And then we'll just switch to the other side. So this time, right hand and elbow start on the ground. Now, I'm not leaning into that hand and elbow too much. If it feels a little better to put more weight there, that's fine. Legs are long, and I want you to keep them long, even if that means you're not quite lifting as high or you're not coming close to touching the feet. That's okay, that's not a big deal. When you're ready, we're gonna lift and lower, lift and lower. Keep it up here. We've got 8 more, last 7. Strong through the midsection, strong through inner thighs, strong through hip flexors. Almost there, last 3, 2, 1, and then lie down on your back. Take a big stretch, exhale it out through your mouth. Might feel good to give the legs a little shake. And then just like you worked on that like belly snow angel before, you're gonna do something similar with your shoulders. So hands just relax on the ground above your head. And then slow, draw each hand in a giant circular motion as you bring arms by your sides. And again, hopefully you've got quite a bit of space here to work with. Lifting hands up towards the sky, then back behind your head. Do that again. Nice, slow, big circle. Once more. If you get to a spot and you're like, I just need to hold it right there, that's totally fine. Do that. Hold it right there. Anywhere that needs a little extra love, a little extra time, that is perfect. Once you finish with that, feet walk out to the edges of your mat. You can just windshield wiper knees side to side, resting hands on your body, or cactus. And then knees hug in, rock and roll a few times, come all the way up to seated. Let's do a wide leg forward fold to end. So feet out wide, comfortably wide. This doesn't have to be like as wide as you can get them. And start with hands behind your back. So we're looking for a long spine here rather than kind of that slouchy spine. And for me, it really helps a lot to bend my knees. So I'm gonna bend my knees, lengthen, and then maybe start to tip forward here. If this is enough, that's perfect, you can stay. If you want to, you can slowly lengthen the legs. If you're still here with a nice long spine, it might feel good to grab your legs or just put your hands out in front of you, maybe walking the hands forward. This is the stretch, for those of you who know me, you know the story. This is the stretch that I never did. I hated it. Everyone hates it. It's miserable. But it turns out it's really good for your body. It really does a lot to address some common imbalances that we hold. Look, this is dust. So yeah, super useful posture. If it's miserable for you, know that you're doing yourself a lot of good. Unless it's causing you pain, then find a way to alleviate that pain, even if that means not doing it. And then walk your hands up. Take a couple shoulder shrugs. Maybe rolling out the head side to side. An awesome job. That is our core class for the day. Half hour always flies by. I'll try to check the comments on this regularly, so feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions, if something didn't make sense. Josie has an alignment clinic going on at 5, so definitely tune into that if you like learning more about yoga and alignment. Thanks, guys.